Hi, I'm Mark Isham. I'm a composer, performer, musician. I've had the great honor of working in the film industry for a number of years and worked with truly some of the greats, from Bob Redford through Carol Rice, Carol Ballard, Brian De Palma. Been involved in such films as Crash, Never Cry Wolf, A River Runs Through It. And I had the great fortune to sit down with Mark Silber and talk about my life in film, what I've learned, and the opportunity to pass some of that on. So, check it out.
Welcome to the Mark Silber Show, where we bring you extraordinary people who are a source of inspiration, innovation, and creativity. Mark, thanks for inviting us to your studio.
It's my pleasure.
Tell me what you're most passionate about when it comes to music.
Boy, that's a big question right off the bat.
Good opening question.
I think it's that moment when I sort of push through the travail of the blank page. You know, there's some assignment or some idea I've had, but there's nothing there. And I sit down to put something there, and you know that can sometimes be an arduous path.
Yeah, I bet.
And I think the moment that I strive for, that keeps me so passionate and excited about doing this, is that moment where I sit back and go, "Ooh, there it is," and I like it. It's doing the communication that I'm attempting to put out there. I get the impact that that's going to have because I can play it back, or whatever the medium is I'm working in. In this day and age, the great thing about technology is you can play it back. You know, you're doing it all in the computer, so you can reverse that flow. You're not just putting in, you can sort of step back, push the play button, and become the audience.
Yeah.
And it's that first time that I sit back and reverse that flow and get that playback to me, and I go, ooh,
nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
That moment pretty much sustains anything else that can come up, that can be weird, that can feel too tough, or I'll never work in this town again, whatever, can come in and make the adventure adventuresome. That's the moment. And then, of course, as it goes, you see that result in others. And that's ultimately what I've realized over the years, what I want to accomplish. I want to give others those moments that I have had, musical experiences. Like the first time I heard Miles Davis, the first time I heard The Rite of Spring. Those moments where I just went, oh my God.
Yeah.
Let me hear that again. I want to create that effect for others. And as soon as I see that happening, those are the moments I live for.
Okay, speaking of that, can you kind of walk us through your process? How does it start? What's the middle and what's the end?
Yeah, the process is the first thing I do once I'm hired. Somehow in that hiring process, a concept is vaguely sketched out. We feel this. You're here because we feel this will work. You agree. You've agreed. That's why you've been hired.
Yeah.
and so you take this vague idea of, well, what's needed here, and you just dive in. And I usually ask for 2 to 3 weeks to be left alone. And I'll look at the film and I'll say, what scene defines the overriding communication of this film?
Okay.
Is it tragedy? Is it just the tragedy of the human condition, and isn't it just all so terribly sad, and we should learn from this? Is that what this film is saying? All right, where is that expressed? All right, it's expressed in the end of Act 3. There's this 6-minute scene. That's the culmination of the communication of this film. I'll start there. Very seldom start with the main titles. You don't know what the film is about.
So you start with essentially an overall concept that you're working around. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and it comes down to a choice of a particular emotion, perhaps. I mean, I keep going back to this idea of tragedy. It can be like a great sports movie is, triumph over odds.
Right.
Right. What is that ultimate one-liner, almost? Because I think in music, because again of that completely personal relationship. You have to sort of strip it down to bare bones, because that's your shot as a composer. You have to you're selling one big idea, and the rest of it's going to fall in through the personal relationship a person has with that music.
Right.
But so I'll sort of know what that basic overriding idea is that I'm trying to communicate. I will find the moment in the film where I feel it is the most completely expressed, and then I don't necessarily write directly to picture. I will pick sounds, and modern technology has to be talked about because it has changed this process. 25 years ago, this was not done this way. It was impossible to do this way. But I guarantee you, 99.9% of the composers in the world use a computer system, have a vast library of sounds, and if nothing else, they're watching the picture and just, do I like that sound? Do I like that sound? And it's an immediate emotional response to the experience of that sound against that image. And that's certainly the way I start. I want a vocabulary that I think will work. And I try to get close to that fairly soon. And then without being too slavish to the picture, in fact, at this point, I will probably turn the picture off and I'll just start writing ideas. And I'll maybe just write 6, 7, 15 ideas, just bang, 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 that I think are the story of this picture. I'll go back and I'll flesh them out to a degree where I feel that there's a bit of a composition there. And then I will switch hats. I'll switch roles, and I'll become a music editor whose function, to put it simply, is to place music against picture and make it work. Not to write the music, but to place it. So then I've written some music. Now I'm going to place it, and I will go to that scene and I will play those compositions against it. I'll sit back. Is that doing it? Is it good enough? Is it right? Is there something in that music that contradicts that overriding emotion that we're selling? That we're the emotion that's coming from those actors, coming from the story. Is it correct? Does it conflict with it? Does it change it incorrectly? Does it confuse it? Or does it simply just bolster it and make it that much better? And that, of course, is what you want to do. You want to sell it. And you can sell it by doing contrapuntal things, but ultimately you're selling. You're making that statement bigger, better, more impactful.
Now, in A River Runs Through It, I was watching it again the other night. There's, towards the very end, one of the last scenes, we see Paul hooking the big fish, and there's all this foreshadowing of something dark about to come. But I noticed the music at that point was very whimsical. Just before we find out he's been bludgeoned to death, almost like you're bringing us up out of it, and then the next scene. Was that something that you created, or was that from? How did that particular choice occur?
It's a long time ago.
It was a while ago, wasn't it?
If memory serves, Bob had those tempos of emotion pretty much mapped out in his mind. That
Bob being Robert Redford.
Robert Redford, yeah. He's such a he's so eloquent about these things, and very different actually than any other director I've worked with, in the fact that he generally talks about a film as if everyone that he's talking to is the actor. And any moment that was the fishing was there was just pure beauty. Pure beauty, poetic beauty. And really only at the end, as the imagery of the old man, reliving, and Bob's voice narrating the tragedies of the past, but the beauty of the future, and the peace that this character had come to. The music did try to hint at the beauty, but the bittersweet nature of life's experiences. And that, again, a very specific direction from Bob. Okay, at this point, we're wrapping it up, and let's have all of it. Let's just get all of it.
It really worked. Mark, in photography, we look at a cover shot and there's a bunch of ingredients. The final ingredient is always the mojo, the secret sauce. What is it that you use to get that mojo?
I try to get myself out of thinking and into pure creating. And sometimes I'll leave this entire, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff that one accumulates to be a modern music maker. And I'll go in the house and sit in the piano with a piece of paper and a pencil. And this has happened more often than I like to think. I'll sit here for a couple of days and not have that moment. And I'll say, what the hell? When I sit down and in 15 minutes I've sketched out the 3 basic themes for the score. What is that? To me, that's change of environment. Just a little trick. Sometimes it's changing the sound on the keyboard. I've been saying, well, this is an orchestral score. And so I've got the expensive string patch up there and I'm playing these big, beautiful, expensive string sounds, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll turn on some cheesy synthesizer and go, that's actually it.
Cool.
It's just putting yourself in the moment.
And how do you get those emotions that you're looking for? How do you draw that out?
There's certain things that, as you would as a photographer, there's certain lighting techniques that just automatically put you in a particular area emotionally. Yeah. It's the same in music. There's certain things that just up your chances, up the ante. If you want to communicate this, go here. And of course, the trick is, in my humble opinion, is then to be able to turn around and break those rules.
Absolutely.
Let's make a tragic score and use that heroic trumpet.
From your extensive background in this industry, what advice do you have for filmmakers who are just getting started?
I watch my son, who is a filmmaker just getting started. And I think what I see in him, and the most he gets from it, is he just does it. I think it sounds so simple, but a lot of the time people just say, well, I'm a filmmaker, and they're at home studying about it, reading about it, and take that credit card, buy that camera, and go out and shoot some film. Get the free iMovie or whatever it is that you can get off an Apple computer and cut that footage together and look back and say, all right, now I'm a filmmaker, I've just made a film. How do I make that better?
Just get out there and shoot. That's the advice we give them too.
Yeah, I think so. Doing this, yes, you can go and get key bits of data, and you can learn from professionals, obviously, who are going to give you shortcuts and are going to give you ways of thinking that's going to get you there quicker and get you raise your quality. But until you do it, it's never real. It's never real to you.
Yeah.
Until you sit back and look at what you've done and say, I need to do that better, and I need to do that better, and that's pretty good.
Yeah. Mark, any final tips for filmmakers who are just trying to get music really working in their films?
I think the thing is to have fun with it, and don't put it off as something unapproachable or not understandable. Just do it and learn. Some of the greatest, I've had the opportunity, the great honor of working with some of the greatest directors. And I'll tell you, over half of them are walking around the set with an iPod, or in the old days, the old little cassette machine, or the portable DVD player, wandering through the environment of their film, looking at their actors rehearsing their lines, watching the cameraman set up, checking the viewfinder with the headphones on, listening to music. They want to know, what's the sound of this environment? What's this? What am I going to play? What belongs here? That table belongs here. That flower arrangement belongs here. That light cutting down at that angle belongs here. What belongs here? From the get-go. So that by the time that's all assembled, or just even roughly, so you see how the story evolves, they already have, I want these 5 CDs. I want someone just to put those in there somehow. Let's just see if I was right. And it's fun.
Yeah.
It's actually fun. There's nothing greater than a moment where you have those images that you've sweated over and slaved over, and they're starting to play back on the timeline that you want them to play back in, and you put a timeline of music against it, and you see and you feel the magic that happens of just even unpredicted, unplanned, unintellectualized, maybe 90% of it completely wrong, but boy, when that 4 bars plays against that shot of the door opening, life, beauty, art is born at that moment, and that relationship and that power. And just take that moment and make note of it and move forward from there and build on that.
Beautiful. Mark, thanks for inviting us to your studio. It's been really great.
My great pleasure.